Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Those in front of me today and those listening are doing so because they know that there is something within themselves that is changing. They feel the shift. And they want to know more. It goes beyond that. There are some, for instance, in this room who have come for information, hoping it would be delivered. It has been. There are those who would come for healing, hoping it was delivered. It has been. When high consciousness humanity comes together with the love of God, you change many things around you. It is an axiom that has always been there, that when two or more gather together, they amplify their energy. When they're dealing with something with wisdom, with prayer, with meditation, it changes things. And so there is an intent with this group to know more. We feel this, and we know. I've given you a review, very quickly, of the basics of the change. You are now sitting in what we have called year one. 2013 was not year one. It was the recalibration year where much had to then be shifted for you to get to year one. And 2014 is it. It's a sacred year, 7. And this is what it's about. My partner picks up things that are happening that I show him. Sometimes there are pauses. I showed him one of you, and you know who you are, who's been through so much, and you're still here. His life is easy compared to yours. Every so often I will pick somebody in the group, an old soul, and show him their Akash. And he's in awe. This is on purpose. So he'll see he has a lot to learn about life. The old souls in front of me are going to make a difference in the planet, but they are still humans, and they're still working at a little over 33%. I told you that the change that you are going to experience would shift what you call normal. So let's recalibrate normal and talk about what it might be, adjusting to the new normal. It was back in July that we gave you a channeling about what that meant. So many of you have had disrupted lives, some due to health, and some with the abilities that you have, which we will call that which is metaphysical, beyond physics. I speak of the healers, the readers, all of the sensitives that are listening to this in any time frame. We know who you are. In the process of this change, there will be human attributes of emotion. When things change, you expect them to return to normal. This is your life. When you get sick for a little while, and you return to normal. All those who are trying to balance you are trying to get you back to the way you were, and this is a new paradigm, dear ones, not that paradigm at all. This, meaning the change, is a new paradigm. There is no more return to normal. In fact, What we have told you before is it isn't just shifting to a new normal, it's shifting to shift. It will continue to change. And so the new normal starts with getting used to change. And that is not a human attribute that's easy to accomplish. We gave the example, fun to some. Imagine your furniture and your house was intelligent. You go to work and you come back and it has decided to move around. You come home and it's all changed. What you might do is to tell it to behave and put it back where you want it. You can't do that. You see, the furniture now is tuned to a different frequency. It wants to move, and it does. And so you make an agreement with the furniture. Okay, I see where you want it to be. That's good. Let's keep it that way. You readjust the things around it that you like, and you leave for work and you come home and it's changed again. How do you like it so far? The human being has to learn to go to work and know that when they're coming home it's going to be different. Eventually the human being has to acknowledge the furniture is intelligent and say, I got the greatest furniture, it always rearranges itself, I can hardly wait to see what happens next. You walk in the door and you're joyful with the changes. This takes a special kind of human being that acknowledges the shift within themselves. There are certain attributes of being a human that does not like change or shift and longs for normal. So the first attribute is to get used to it, learn to love it, and expect it. Now, how does this work if you are into what we would call the attributes of energy? What if you are someone who has had a body shift of health? What about you? When I say it's impossible to get back to normal, what does that mean to you? Let me ask you, were you happy with the way it was? How would you like to return to a place where you're healthier than before you got sick? And is that possible? And the answer is yes. That's not a return to normal, is it? You see what I'm saying? It's a return to a better aware state. It's a return to health that you didn't expect. Is that all right? If you're an energy worker in the audience, some of you have been taken for a ride. And that ride is frustration and anger even. That you have seemed to have lost what you had. And maybe what you had was the ability for sensitivity to help people in many ways of their life. You have medical intuitives in here. You have those whose business is to help people in here. And I've heard you cry out and ask, what does it serve? What purpose of benevolence could it possibly serve to take away what I had? There are those listening to this message who cry in the night because they can't figure out what happened. They know they're old souls and they've lost what they had. What we told you, we will reiterate. The broadcast that you have been picking up and receiving that allows these gifts has now shifted frequency and is higher. The receiver in you, which you call the pineal, now has to tune to a higher frequency that is being broadcast in order for you to retrieve what you had. But there is no such thing as retrieving what you had. We just told you that. So what you're going to do is to retrieve what you had plus more. Are you ready for that? You are going to rewrite who you are. A human being, a gifted human being who is a reader in help of others, is going to rewrite their program so that their gifts are enhanced. And you'll see it when they start to return. You got to know some things. It's not going to feel the same. And so here you are sitting, waiting for it to return. I have news. You have to now do something we have not spoken of before. The normal reaction to a health issue is time heals. And if you wait long enough, you get back what you had. The idea of waiting to retrieve some of these things now is not the paradigm. Should you wait or act? In 2013, we told you not to do anything. 2013 was a waiting year. 2014 and beyond are action years. I'm asking you to act. You get up and you push on the door, and I'm going to tell you some of the attributes to try. And you're not going to like some of them, because you didn't want to do this. You just want what you had back, right? And we just told you it isn't coming. There are those in the audience who didn't want to hear that. If you wait long enough, it'll return. No, it won't. It just won't. Waiting is not an option. Waiting is a vacuum. The old energy is not coming back. How do you pick up the new? So let's start the training. Number one, expect change. We said that. Understand that the old is not coming back. Understand that you are going to be proactive. You're going to push, metaphorically, on some energies and doors in order to reactivate the receiver to pick up the new signals. It won't take much, but you're going to have to work at it. Did you really expect that you could sit there laying around and everything is just going to return like it was? In the energy that we have told you is appropriate for the magnificence of your shift? You thought it was all going to return to the old? It isn't. You're going to have to move. And what I mean is energetically. Get up and move some energy around. Now, each one of you knows what that means, because you are independent and you are also specific and unique. Every one of you has their own puzzle. This doesn't apply to everyone listening or in the room. It applies to the ones it applies to. And you'll know who I'm talking to. Number two, I want you to understand you've got help. My partner explained a body part function, the pineal. He also explained something inside you, which is a concept called innate. This is what has been called the smart body consciousness. This is the one that you talk to with muscle testing. This is the one that you're going to start awakening with processes to tell you what to do. It's combined with intuition. But let me tell you something you should know. Your body is listening. It expects you to talk to it in any way you think is appropriate, through intent, through consciousness, through verbalization. It is ready to find the new frequency. Your cellular structure is vibrating with expectancy. You're not going to push this rock uphill. All you have to do is start to activate that part in you to find the new frequency and revitalize what you had. And more. Kryon, you talk in circles. Give us some specifics. I'll do it. There are some old things you need to revisit. Let's talk about affirmations. Do they work? And the answer is very well. Very well. When you speak things out loud with a consciousness of intent, you hear it yourself with your ears, corporally. The cells understand what you're doing. Remember, I said your body is listening. Affirmations are the quickest way to change your reality at this moment in time. Does it work? Let's talk about what doesn't work. How many of you know hypochondriacs who have complained about worry of what they would catch? Over and over, verbalization out loud of what they would catch and what their worry would be, what would be wrong with them. And then, much to their shock and horror, they caught it all. That's an affirmation. It works. Whatever you tell your body, it listens and tries to cooperate with. You understand this? The affirmations should be designed by you. You can get them out of books. They probably will work. But what about ones you design for you? Let me give you some hints about affirmations. Now, it's human nature for you to verbalize things in a certain way. I desire love in my life. My affirmation, my desire is to have things happen in a perfect scenario for me. I desire this, I desire that. I desire to work with God in the best way. I desire. You know what the body is going to pick up? You've got somebody desiring a lot. That's all the body's going to get. That's a bad design for an affirmation for a magnificent human being. The affirmation should tell what you have, not your desire to get it. Do you understand? The affirmation is, I am love, I am healthy, I am this, I am that. The I am is who you are. And as you speak these things daily and out loud, there is a process. The repetition, dear one, is not just entertainment for God. Because some feel that way. You're speaking it over and over. Who's listening? They don't understand. The innate is the bridge that you must build between your corporeal and your innate has to be built in this way. Start talking to your own cells and your own innate. I am love. I am a reader. World class. I am a medical intuitive that helps people on the planet. I am one who God uses every day to help humanity. I am love. I am kind, I am considerate, I am patient. I am in love with my relatives. I am. Your body will hear this over and over. All right, Kryon, I love it. How many times do I say it and how loud? We are entertained by your ignorance. By now, you've got to know. When you're dealing with you, only you have these answers, dear ones. How often should you say it? There's some of you who've got to say it as you drive from place to place, just to remind yourself who you are. Others of you, once a day. Others of you, twice a day. What are the issues? What are you trying to do? You've heard it before. Don't try. Be. This really, truly is the beginning of change. I have the new frequency and I'm working with it. All of those attributes that I was worried about, are now in control and back. I am a healer. It's not wishful thinking. The affirmations is a statement of truth. Let me define something yet again that you should know about. Human nature works with a human brain. The kinds of things we're discussing right now are fully linear to you. But they have a multidimensional aspect that you do not really truly understand. Words in the air are frequencies. Statements of intent are energies. You cannot see them and you cannot measure them. And they are absolutely powerful. Prayer works. Meditation works. This is quantum physics. The numbers would astonish you of the energies that you can create by simply stating things to yourself in the air. Kryon, do I have to have them out loud? You know what? I will say it. It's better if they are. They have a more concrete approach to your own system if your system hears them 3D through the air from your mouth. Yes, you're able to do it without speaking if you wish. Not all can, dear one. You're looking at a vibratory shift. You're not looking at the way things used to be. What stands in the way of this? And I want to tell you, I want to show you the example. If you are, for instance, a master carpenter, what if truly your talent was so great as a carpenter? Years and years, you could take a nail and swing a very large hammer in such a beautiful, elegant way that you could pound the nail in with one swat. All the way into the wood, you had figured it out. Your aim was perfect. You knew what kinds of woods would take the nail that you had. You never missed. You were fast, you were proficient. Others looked at you and they said, here is a craftsman. In that there is pride, is there not? Year after year, pretty soon that there are those coming to you, pretty soon you're even teaching it. One swipe, perfect aim. The hammer in your hand is an elegant one. It's balanced just for you. You've had it custom made. You get the picture? One day you wake up and you even miss the wood. It's gone. And you try to get it back. Nail after nail bends. You end up hitting your thumb a few times, so you're more careful. What is your reaction to that? What is your human reaction? I want you to walk through this with me. Anger? Yes. Frustration? Yes. And what is the conclusion? You lost it. It was good while you had it, and now it's gone. This is what I will call the finality of 3D. The human who goes right to the conclusion that it's over. The reason is because you've never experienced this before. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what you don't know. Therefore, frustration, anger, I quit, it's over. Some even will turn their back on God. So profound is this. What have you been given in your life that you cannot handle? It is so awful that you'd give up on God. And I will tell you, whatever it is you tell me, that is really human of you. It's beneath your magnificence. It's not logical with the God inside. And what am I telling you? I'm telling you to get over yourself. It's coming back, craftsman. You spent all those years doing this. What do you think? You're just uncoordinated suddenly? No, I will tell you, the hammer changed. And the nail keeps moving around. What do you do about that? You learn where the nail goes because you know where it's going to move. Now you're not just hammering in static nails, you're hammering in moving nails. That's much better. You're much more talented. A carpenter who can pound in moving nails. It's a funny premise, is it not? And that is exactly what we're looking at. A talent that increases, but did you see how the parameters moved around? What if I told you your hammer was different? All right, what do you do when your hammer weighs differently and is balanced in an unusual fashion? What you do, get ready for the word, practice. It's beneath some of you to start over. Go back to the beginning. What did you do when you started the processes that you got good at, dear ones? Maybe the process you got good at was health. I want you to think about this. What did you do? You examined your diet. You examined the energy. You examined everything around you so that you could find a place that worked for you. Now you have this idea that whatever you found is going to be good forever. It just changed. Start it again. Find a new one. Those of you who are readers and psychics and all of those energy workers, if the frequency has changed, find a new frequency. How? Practice. Push on the door. Have patients come to you that are willing to practice with you. Do you remember when you did it the first time? Channelers. Do you remember the first time? I speak to my partner here. It was awful. Ask me. Horrible. Couldn't get through every other word, even less. Until he relaxed with it. The more he practiced, the better he got. Now this is second nature. He learned to step out of the way. He's not a puppet for Kryon. I'm using his higher self. You do know that, don't you? The consciousness of my partner, his voice, his intellect, his culture, his language, that's not Kryon, that's him. He is translating Kryon. We're working together. He steps aside in consciousness, but he's working through practice. You don't want to start over, do you? Let me tell you something. You don't have to. When you start pushing on the door and going back to the basics will graduate into fulfillment fast. You'll get the hang of it. You'll remember. You'll alter it a little and it expands. This is you adjusting to the new normal, enhancing what you had to something bigger, grander, and greater. Laughing at how the nails move around because you got a hammer that hits them every time. In fact, it becomes a game. The nails want to go into the wood, but they like to dance a little first. You see what I'm saying? It becomes a joyful experience, something that would be horrible to you right now to think about, because it was such an awful change for you. Things moving around, shifting energy, not being the same. What if you flew, you had the ability to flow with it so much it became a dance? Welcome to the new human. Higher consciousness and becoming quantum. This is what we want to teach you. This is what we want to tell you. Now, there would be those who would listen to this, and later they would say, I have no idea what Kryon said. Not really. You may have to listen to this a number of times. You may have to listen to this later in order to fully understand what we're saying. This may not apply to you yet. You may remember this channel and say, I better listen now because something's happening. Right now, together, I want you to see the magnificence of who you are. Potentials are reality. Is there illness here? I want to tell you, you have so much control over your own chemistry. It's listening to you. It wants to hear what you have to say. What are the affirmations you would say to your body? Besides, I am healthy, get specific. I am not in pain. I am never going to experience certain kinds of things again. I don't need to. There's no reason for them. You'll find you have more control over your body than you ever thought you had before, even over those things which medicine tells you you cannot do. My blood is clean. My blood is balanced. I'm telling you, you as a human being in this new energy, have more power in these words than you think. Affirmations? Yes. The energy caused from them, you've never seen anything like it. That's what the new energy is going to deliver. Starting over? Yes. But not to the same number of years to practice, just a little while. Go back to basics. Push. Stop waiting. It's time to act. Getting used to the new normal applies to many of you right now and some of you later. And of course those who already figured it out. This is our message for the day. Sit with me for a minute, just a moment. You realize who you are. To receive this message, do you know who you are? Lemurian? He helped start the civilization that has the peace of God inside. Many of you are your own ancestors. You have been through this earth history. So many of you. It is not an accident as my partner moves around the globe that he speaks to only old souls. I want you to think about it. Do you deserve to be free of pain? Do you deserve to have all of the things back that you might have thought you lost? I am speaking to specific people listening to this now, specific family members that I know so well right now, and you know who I'm talking to. Affirmation. I am recovering, not good enough. Affirmation. I have recovered from my grief. Blessed is the Lord my God who lives inside of me. I just spoke to somebody who needed to hear that. Is it okay? I want you to prepare for mastery, for this is where it's going. All of you, at some level, at some time, in the lives to come and in this one, get ready for the new human being. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. And so the message this evening is the same as it was the evening before. And depending upon that which my partner does, which will determine that which is then broadcast as an audio transcription. Or I gave it to him last night for the first time so that he would understand. And it would not be a surprise today. And in that there comes a greater understanding and a better wisdom. For the things which we wish to present this evening are new. New to some. But we speak now about a premise that we have not spoken of before. Not in this detail. And one that will then be very, very outstanding to you. Perhaps a bit unbelievable. It is a premise that has to do with physics, but everything to do with you. A premise that has to do with the energy that you sit in now. A few moments ago, when we opened this door, we ask, is the man pretending? And we ask that so that you will have discernment and you will know. For here is a message that will go to the core. Here is a message that is unbelievable to some. And so, because of its nature, we bring you the practical part as well. We fill a little of it with science. A three-dimensional aspect that will anchor that which might sound unbelievable. We present to you that which someday your scientists will see. Some of them are beginning to see it now, not understanding what it could mean, how it works, or what truly is the core. But you can't deny it's there. And in order to do this properly, we will present it in pieces and parts. Here's the premise. That as you open the door to that which is quantum in your science, you are going to discover the first kind of physics that is always benevolent. That is to say, you're about to open a door and look at something which is not linear, which has a bias, the bias of benevolence. Is it possible that there is an actual energy in physics that is biased benevolently? And that doesn't make sense. Because physics is supposed to be absolute. That is to say, there are rules, and then there are rules, and then there are rules. And you want to formalize it, and you used to want to understand that it might be random. We speak about quantum physics as being random. But is it? And if not, why would it be biased benevolently? This is going to sound like science, and it is not all science. We want to give you this information because it ties in with the creative energy that you are experiencing now, dear human being. Difficult to know how to begin. Difficult to know how to explain this in a way that you will actually understand what we are saying. So let us start with this. Your science believes at the moment that quantum physics has to do with the way small particles react. Particles that are so small, they are particles of light, they are molecules of DNA. So small you have to see them under an electron microscope. This is quantum mechanics. And it's only seen there. And now we're going to give you something else to think about. This that you see in the very small also occurs in the very large. And so we'll start there. We're going to start with the premise. The creation of galaxies. And I have said it before that each galaxy in the universe has its own physics. And some of them are very similar, but all of them are different. And if you could know the differences, you'd wonder why, and I will tell you it's because of what's in the middle. Because your physics, 3D and quantum, is determined by what happens in the middle of each creative galaxy. The creation energy in the middle, that bipolar energy, that push and pull, what we have called the twins that are in the middle of your galaxy, which you see in 3D as a singularity, is really double. It determines your physics. And it's different for every galaxy. Science doesn't know that yet. And we give this to you so that when they discover it, you can say you heard it here. It gives credibility to everything else I'm going to say. Let us start with the astronomer. Dear astronomer, do you believe in God? And the astronomer will think for a moment, and the astronomer will say, I am not one to define divinity. And it's not my science. And so you will ask him instead, all right, what do you see that might be interesting to you? And this is where the astronomer lights up and says, all right, I will tell you what is interesting to all of us. We've discovered something we don't understand. There are physical principles in large things that do not apply to orbital mechanics as you have learned them in Newtonian and Euclidean physics. And they will say it's odd to us that the galaxy moves as one plate, almost like the stars were pebbles glued upon it. It all rotates together. There has to be some kind of energy that holds that. For orbital mechanics, as you know them, has to do with gravity and magnetics, orbiting objects around a fulcrum, which is a sun, seeks its natural place of orbit based upon its mass. Further away, closer together, the speed. Smaller items go faster, slower items go slower that are bigger. That's what your solar system does, but not a galaxy. The galaxy has something in the middle which must be gravity-based, and yet everything moves around it as one. There is a unity there. We don't understand it. But that's not all. Then they will tell you something that you cannot believe. It has to do with what we would call the random factor. So we're going to call this channeling the quantum factor. Something you didn't expect is happening before you. In your three-dimensional reality, everything that happens on the earth seems to be in a random state, and that is to say a bell-shaped curve. If you were to roll a dice over and over thousands of times, you would see this bell-shaped curve, or you would see a consistency of randomness. And that is what you call the way things work. That's what you expect. And there's no bias to it, especially when you would roll dice. You expect to see a certain kind of statistical curve that is random. Back to the astronomer. The astronomer is saying this: everywhere we look at what you would call the creating energy of the universe, that which made the universe, the energy that is responsible for its actual existence, is incredibly biased. It would be like if you rolled a dice and you got 6, and then 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 6. It is beyond the realm of randomness. It shows and shouts there had to be intelligent design. Now, I'm not talking about a metaphysical person. I'm talking about an astronomer. Everywhere they look, against all odds, the universe is benevolently designed for life. They've used the term intelligent design. I use the term benevolent design. And I will tell you that that energy that glues the solar systems of your galaxy together over 100 billion stars is a giant quantum hand that sits upon the galaxies of your universe like the hand of God. A quantum benevolent hand. And they all move together. By the way, if they didn't, they'd all crash into each other. Like your solar system, there would be chaos in the way of speeds, distances, sizes, and there isn't. Instead, it all moves in unity. And the astronomers say it shouldn't. And the astronomers say it's like rolling 6 1,000 times. How can this be? It is the first of many examples we are going to give you. This is the quantum factor, the very creator of the universe. Biased in love, biased for life, biased in benevolence. And here you are sitting in the little blue jewel, that earth that shouldn't actually exist. And the only thing that allows it to exist is intelligent design. How long did it take for science to come to this? An agreement. It's out of statistical probability. Oh, the astronomer still will not use the God word. Intelligent design is as good as it gets. But at least they have been accurate in describing it. A benevolence that is the creator of the universe. Think of that. What does this mean to you? If there is a benevolence in the overall creation of the universe allowing for life, allowing for this earth to exist, it means that other earths exist. There's life everywhere. We've told you that. However, we sit in a very special one. The planet that is the only planet of free choice anywhere. There's only one in every universe. And there have been other planets of free choice, graduate planets of free choice, then giving the seeds of what they have graduated from to you to continue. And here you are. The creative energy in you has the wisdom of the ages of your galaxy, not of your earth. Others before you, in the billions of years that this galaxy has existed and has rotated as one object, there have been many of these tests all over, and every single one that graduates to a new level of benevolence picks up that quantum energy that is biased in love and passes it to the next planet. It is a long-term deal. And you will do the same. And as you pass this benevolence, it actually shapes the next universe. And how intelligent the design will be. It has been around a long time to get to this place where physics can be shown to have an attitude. An attitude of benevolence. That's the big picture. Oh, let's move to a medium one. Let me take you to an experiment over a decade ago. 2 men. In Scotland, Scott Strachan, physicist, and a medical doctor, Dr. Todd Ovakaitis, my partner's friend. What is a coincidence they met in this lifetime. Those 2 men are together. The physicist and the medical doctor come up with something. They are the first team of scientists to develop a controllable quantum event. That is to say, they have an invention that creates quantum energy. They've done it by opposing laser energies out of phase through what we would call a quantum holographic lens. An actual shift of time occurs. And the quantum soup that is in that energy, although it is very small, is controllable. Now, they're not the first humans on the planet to create a quantum energy. They're only the first ones to create a controllable quantum energy. The first human to create a quantum energy was Nikola Tesla. He couldn't control it, but he knew it was there, and he had seen it over and over. But what they did next, and over the last decade, and continuing into the next one, shows the quantum factor. For they then applied this little quantum soup that they had invented to biology. And every time they imbued this energy into a biological test or experiment, they got healing. And what are the odds of that? That you would then develop some kind of an energy on the planet that had never been seen before, and everywhere you put it, good things happen. What are the odds of that? It's like rolling 6 and then 6 and then 6. Are you starting to see a pattern? When this quantum energy is able to be reproduced in other laboratories, there will be those, and there always are, that will try to weaponize it. It'll be the first energy ever discovered that won't allow it. It can't be weaponized because it is benevolent. Imagine a quantum energy that's just simply physics that has an attitude. What does that tell you? There's something going on. The quantum factor will be discovered on this planet. And it's going to fly in the face of logic and 3D and the way things work. All of this may not be seen in my partner's lifetime. And he's all right with that. He's very all right with that. Now, he stands next to me. But I'm going to tell you about him. Because he knows he'll be here. He may even participate. He doesn't care what his body looks like. He just cares that he'll be here. And he will. And I want to tell you, old soul, that at this moment the potentials are that no matter how old you are in this room, you'll be here with him. Because you're not going to miss the finale. The ramp up is difficult. The old souls in front of me have signed on to work. They waited for this energy for lifetimes. Their parents, and I've spoken of this before, came into this planet knowing full well they would have children that would be in this new energy that would have the chance of changing Earth. Your parents didn't. Before they got here, when they had the mind of God, they said, we're going to go in, and we're not going to wake up, and we're not going to understand. We may even be abusive. We may give them a hard time. We may even disown them. But we're going to have them. And we hope they forgive us for what we do in an old energy, but this is what we're doing because we have the mind of God before we get to earth, and we know that they are going to change things. Do you ever think of your parents that way? I have mentioned this now 5 times in channel. I can't mention it too often. There are those here who need to hear it. Do you ever think of your parents in that light? After what they've perhaps done. Now, many of you had wonderful parents, and then there are others who don't want to ever talk to them, and some of them are here and some of them are dead. And I want to tell you that the core soul of all the parents knew of this energy potential. They knew that their job was to have you as a child. Old soul. And this is really going to put time in a circle for you because you stood next to them when they came in. With an agreement, a handshake, a hug. Let's go do it. My partner says that light workers sit before him. All right, light worker, I want to ask you, if you now know what I know about your parents, who's the light worker? I've said that over and over. It's your parents who went through this in an old energy and perhaps never woke up. And perhaps gave you a real bad time. Well, maybe this is the time to forgive everything and see the core inside them, the mind of God that they had to bring you into this earth in a difficult situation. There are those here who were born on different continents. I know who you are who sit here. Even more difficult there for a parent to say, we're going to have a light worker, an old soul. And why were they so sure that this would work? Because they saw the quantum factor, the benevolence of the quantumness that you were beginning to absorb and understand. Quantum energy is just around the corner. That will be the next largest discovery on the planet. It's been held back from you because it takes a higher vibrating consciousness to create it. When any planet discovers a quantum energy and is able to use it, you can go to that planet and know that you will meet high consciousness entities. Never given to you before that. For in the quantum factor contains planetary travel, interplanetary travel, entangled states, ways of doing things you never thought could happen. You can throw away your rocket ships. Oh, how 3D of you. You're on the edge of that. Now let me take you to the very small. Over a decade ago, Vladimir Papoinian, Russian scientist, used light as an experiment with one molecule of DNA. And he discovered a field around DNA. Light patterned itself into a mathematical equation when DNA was around it. He discovered that DNA had a field, a quantum field. Not only that, it was a quantum field filled somehow with information. How else could it pattern light into a sine wave? A field that is quantum, that is filled with information that came from a quantum biologist, not Kryon. And I follow that up. And I am telling you what DNA is, and it's time for you to know. When the human genome was transcribed, every single chemical in it was seen. The numbers are shocking. For in a molecule so small you cannot see it without an electron microscope, there are 3 billion chemicals in the double helix. The smallest of the small, all of those are quantum. They all qualify. They're small enough. And yet your three-dimensional scientists were looking for patterns. They wanted to know what creates 36,000 genes of the human body. By the way, there's more. I'm using a number of theirs, not mine. And that's all they were interested in. They did not see DNA in a quantum state. They were not looking for that, even though the very size of DNA must yell at that which is logic that it has to be quantum. They were not looking for that. Instead, they counted chemicals. Instead, they looked for codes, and they found them. In 3.5% of the 3 billion, there were protein-encoded parts that made all the genes. 3.5%. Over 90% was random. It did nothing that they could see. Still to this day, even with that information, they do not see the obvious, that the 90% is quantum and the 3.5% is linear. And they have to ask the question eventually when they see it, what is in the 90% that is quantum? And now we get to it, don't we? And I will tell you, 100% information, instruction sets for your life. Everything from your higher self, you might say. Everything from that to your Akashic record, you might say. Every single lifetime, every single talent. Biologically, every single instruction to every single stem cell. That's what's in your DNA. And it's all quantum. Now, I'm giving you this information so that you will understand something that is coming next. In your 3D life, you simply accept the chemicals you're given. And you act as though the 3.5% is all there is. And you take it as a standard that is unchangeable. You don't see it for the way it is designed. Think of DNA as a race car. Think of 3.5% of it as the engine. It always does the same thing, over and over and over, always does the same thing. And 95% is the consciousness of the driver behind the wheel. Only you haven't discovered the driver. And therefore you live with the 3.5% as though it were all that there is. And you never talk to it. Many of you come in with predispositions based upon the karma which is put upon you from your past lives. You don't come in clean. You come in with predispositions, fears and phobias. Some of it is positive. You come in as a prodigy, continuing your last life. The 8-year-old who can paint like a master and do brush strokes that take 30 years to develop. As soon as she can hold a brush. What does that tell you about what must be in the DNA? The composer, the pianist, the prodigy, the violinist, just waiting till their hands can go on the fingerboard and they can reach up and fret the notes. They come in knowing how to play the piano, just waiting for their hands to get big enough to do it without a lesson. How do you explain that, dear ones? It's all on the DNA. And you never talk to it. Let me take you to cellular division. We've said this before. You need to hear this to understand how this works. A cell is ready to divide. It rejuvenates the human body, all tissue. You've been told that there's some tissue that does not rejuvenate. That is incorrect. It all rejuvenates at different speeds, at different times, and different ways. It rejuvenates. You know, the human body is designed to live a long time. Unfortunately, the energy that you have created on this planet and what you've gone through has beat it up. You don't live much more than 80 years. The biblical creatures that you call human beings, that were sometimes prophets and sometimes masters and sometimes just there, lived for hundreds of years. Did they really, or is that just a metaphor? Did they get that right in the Bible without a mistranscription? I'm going to tell you the truth. It's very accurate. Thousands of years ago, You lived a very long time, Lemurian. If you knew your lifespan, you'd gasp. But not anymore. Instructions have been given literally by the energy of the planet that you live in. A cell divides. Right before it divides, it needs the blueprint. The blueprint is available from the stem cell. The stem cell gets its information from the quantum part of the DNA. It's never changed since you were born. It's remained static. Nothing has ever changed it. And you don't believe it's changeable. There's not a conscious effort to do anything, and it just lays there like it always did. And it talks to the stem cell and says, do the same thing you always did. The stem cell talks to the cell that is dividing, saying, make another one just the same. And you rejuvenate just like the last one. And now I'm going to give you a secret. There's another quantum energy on the planet that has the quantum factor. A benevolence. And that is new. And you sit in now a revolutionary change, and some of you are aware of it and feeling it, and it's called a shift of human consciousness, and it's shifting into the quantum factor. It is becoming benevolent. And it is why you're seeing this earth react the way it is. You're starting to see those who will not allow the old systems. You will not have dictators anymore. They want control over their lives. They don't want war. They want their families to be safe. And you're seeing it over and over in these places that have had dictators for years. The question was asked, when will Africa be included in this? A benevolent revolution, and I will tell you, the next generation, and guess who's going to be there to make sure it happens? The man in the chair. And he's going to have black skin. And he's going to be right where he needs to be. And he can hardly wait. 75 years from now, he'll be there. Ready to go. And he's not going to be a channeler. And there's no way to prove that, is there? And he won't know who he used to be. He'll just know what he's supposed to do. There's going to be a healed Africa by then, ripe and ready to develop one of the most abundant and filled with resources continents that this planet has ever seen, without any history that is political. They don't have to unlearn anything. They can start from scratch. They can take the best of any system that they've ever seen and build it. Africa will become one of the most abundant continents in the world. And by the way, they're going to have one currency. And you say, well, what about China? They're awfully large. Look at what they've done. Look at what they have to unlearn. Africa will only have the history that you see today. Sickness, dictators. All of that is going to change, and he'll be there. And how do I know that? Because that's what he's agreed to in advance, in a quantum state. The quantum factor is benevolent, and he knows it. Synchronicity is benevolent. Did you know that? If you wait for synchronicity in your life, God is never going to give you a snake when you ask for an apple. We've told you this before. This is benevolent energy on the planet working in synchronicity for you. Did you ever wonder how energy can be developed like this? And it loves you. And it has an attitude. Here's what you should know. in this shift of human consciousness, you're starting to receive the quantum factor in human consciousness. Human consciousness is starting to have this quantum factor. That is to say, it is becoming benevolent. And that means as you are now able to interface with another field, a field around you called the Merkaba, which is your DNA, you have one confluence of quantumness interfacing another. And I don't know if you know what that means in physics, and I will tell you. And that is this, that what you think, you create. And the first thing you're able to do is rewrite your DNA. How'd you like to live another 100 years? And you give me a 3D answer, and I just heard it here, and your minds are going crazy. I don't want to look that way. It's bad enough what I look like at 90. Oh, 3D of you. Earth won't support it. The population will be too big. Oh, how 3D of you. What if, just what if, you became wiser as well? What if you started to control that which is your population and the use of the Earth's resources? What if you stopped using up the resources of Earth and depended upon the ocean for power, as we've told you? What if you decided to dig a hole and make steam out of the heat that's below your feet instead of building a nuclear reactor? For a nuclear reactor is the world's most expensive steam engine. That's all it is. It makes steam. And there's lots of ways of making steam that will not then hurt one animal or one molecule of air. And it lays there ready for your discovery. And I'll tell you, you're there. You're almost there. You can rewrite your DNA. Now, you're not thinking like I'm thinking, because I'm going to tell you what's in your DNA. It's the consciousness that you have at the moment that actually controls that which you think, your attitude, your human nature. So let's just go for it. There are those in this room that need to hear this. Who is it you won't forgive? Who is it you think has etched into your life something you can never forget, and that you wake up every day with it? I know who's here. Etched into your life. And when a cell divides, let us call it a brain cell, it asks, the same or different? And it goes back to the stem cell for the blueprint, and the stem cell goes to the DNA, and it looks, and oh, would you believe that? The DNA has another instruction set. It's becoming more benevolent. It's more peaceful. Look at that. The event which caused that groove of horror that can never be forgotten is gone. And it talks then to the stem cell, and the stem cell then gives that print to the cell that is dividing, and it says different, not the same. And a new cell is created in your mind that has a new blueprint. And so you might say that what you're going to do in the future has changed your past. And there it is. How much more quantum can you get? Are you paying attention? You can rewrite anything. That's the power of the human being. In this new energy, old souls will pick it up first. It's the old soul who's going to start changing, and people will see it in your human nature, and they'll say, whatever you got, I want it. You don't ever have to give them a Kryon book. You never have to say one word. They watch you work with other human beings. They watch you love others who are unlovable. They watch you care about people who you could never care about. And then you start to see it in areas you never thought you'd see it. Politics will begin to change. The way you do business starts to change. What you expect of each other becomes benevolent. Oh, there will always be those unbalanced. There will always be that which you cannot control. There will always be humans. There will always be ones that land in prison. There will be those who come to the planet for the first time, haven't got a clue what to do. Do everything wrong, seemingly, just like you did. There is a lineage in the room, not just one of many lifetimes, but one of wisdom that brings you to the chair. And the questions you ask about civilization and earth are wise ones. When are we going to learn the lessons? You say, well, you have in order to have asked the question, haven't you? There's a wisdom pool sitting in the room that is enormous. Don't you feel it? And so, dear human being, you start talking to your DNA in a benevolent way, and you say to the stem cells, you say to the all that is, you say, why don't we have a situation where the telomeres don't shorten every time the cell divides? Oh, and the information goes to the stem cell, and the stem cell is queried by the cell that is dividing, and the telomeres are there, and they don't shorten. And therefore, the one that is produced doesn't age. And you youth. And that's the truth. You start to return to an energy that you thought you'd lost, where human beings are allowed to live longer and can live longer, and it doesn't destroy the environment. They don't overcrowd themselves because they can control it through their minds and through wisdom. How many children to have? What is appropriate? What works in the society? What is beneficial to all? The quantum factor. Someday you'll meet them. They're here now. You've got Pleiadian brothers and sisters who live a very, very long time in a graduate situation in a planet that went through the test just like yours and came out with a quantum factor. They have benevolence. They have quantum energy. That's how they get here instantly in return. And they'll never interrupt your free choice, and that's why they don't land and say hello. Instead, they sit and cheer on the sidelines of what you've finally done. You don't know how close you are to changing everything. If you look at the planet over the last 50 years, you have to see it. You changed human nature. You look at some of these countries that have low consciousness and low dictators and what they're doing, and you can't believe it. And the rest of the world rolls their eyes and say, what is this barbaricness? That's a wise earth that can see who they used to be. Human nature is not static. And now I've given you the secret, old soul in this room. I want you to start using that which is your higher consciousness to talk to your bodies every day. What is it you want to start with? What have you come for? There's healings that need to be done in this room. Will you accept them? Will you accept them? And if there is a resounding yes from those who know what I'm talking about, I want to give you the invitation to imprint right now with all of us permission to change. And get out of that 3D attitude that you can't change anything biologically in your body. Have you ever heard of spontaneous remission? Do you know what that is? That is a human being who has gone into a state where they actually have rewritten the stem cells in their body to the extent that their immune system is able to carry out something that is called apoptosis at 100% virility. And what I mean by that is that there is a process in the human body that will recognize invaders and sick cells and destroy them. They call it cellular suicide. The cell knows it's diseased, and so it stops functioning. Did you know you had that? That is spontaneous remission. Only through old energy and eons of unpractice. You've forgotten how. And so you get the cancers, don't you? And all the other things that attach them to your body and grow. Isn't it odd? And we've said this before. Isn't it odd that your body won't even tell you what it's doing? And you've got to go to a guy in a white coat to find out. Isn't it time that stopped? You need to start communication. You need to listen to the intuition. You need to talk to your body every day. Are you okay? What can I do? What would you like? Let's start rewriting the DNA to live a long time. Let's shorten the telomeres. Let's start with high consciousness and how we react to anger. Let us imprint our DNA with the benevolence of God. Let us take the hand of the higher self and finally learn what is in the Pleiadian layers that they gave you. You haven't opened that bag yet. And it lays there. And it's been there for over 100,000 years, waiting for you to discover it. And when you do, you'll visit another planet. And you'll give them the seed of your benevolence. And you'll have peace on earth. I wouldn't tell you this. I wouldn't tell you this unless you could look at it and see it's happening. Before we close, dear ones, we'll say this is a slow process. We've seen it before. We've told you before. It happens through generations. It happens through children of the children of the children. It is not anything that you're going to see in a flashbulb experience. There may be some things that move backwards for a while before they move forward, but if you look at all that is together, a slow ship where the rudder of wisdom is steering toward a time when hatred will be something you don't know about. Because quantum energy is benevolent. And that is the truth this day. That is the energy this day. That are the potentials that I see this day. And that is why we bring you this message this day. Go from this place different than you came, knowing more about who you are, what you've done, and what is before you. And I'm Kryon, in this entourage, lover of humanity. And so it is.
Let's move into a meditation where we welcome the energies of both the masculine and the feminine to be balanced within our body. So I invite you to close your eyes and allow everything within your body to just relax. Have some deep breathing and feel the energy within your body. And focus on the attributes of masculine energy and what they mean to you. You may think of words such as protection, strength, courage, and allow yourself to focus on the energy of the divine feminine. And you may think of attributes such as love, compassion, patience, wisdom, and understanding. And now ask and give the intent to balance the masculine and the feminine within. Give the intent that we now balance the energies of divine masculine and divine feminine within the core of our being. And when we feel, sense, or imagine this balance of divine masculine and divine feminine, know that this is the energy that Kryon comes to you with this full complement of divine masculine and feminine. So now we welcome in the beautiful energies of Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. These are amazing times. The times perhaps you didn't expect. The entire thrust of this program for the last year, for this next year and beyond, is to help you through this time. And the best way to do it is that which I have developed and told my partner would be the Circle of 12. A metaphor for the structure of all things, the 12s, the beauty, the majesty of that. But the main one is to step into an area that old souls are not used to stepping into, and that is your own magnificence, your own soul. This month, we present 4 channelings, and this will be the first of the 4. And those 4 channelings are going to be called things which are hiding in plain sight. So hiding in plain sight is the title, and it's going to be a revelation of the true magnificence of every human being. The fact that they are hiding means that they are unknown to most. Something which is hiding usually means that there is an intent in the hiding, and there is. We have told you from the beginning that free choice is that which we give you to develop and find things which are hiding. That if you simply wander on this planet and look around with what people tell you, with what is there, with what is presented to you in 4 dimensions, you will not see it. The ones who were the best at discovering the things that were hiding were the indigenous. They recognized right away that there was more to what was humanity themselves than what they saw. And that led them to so many things that today you are rediscovering. They discovered the things that were hiding in plain sight, including the connection to the earth, the connection to the ancestors. They knew about astronomy way before there were astronomers. They understood what was in the sky and how it moved, affected them, just like the astrologers of today. So there are many things that are hiding, and we have chosen 4 of the major ones. And the major ones that perhaps you know, or you think you know. And this may be a review for the old souls, but there are so many listening to this who need to hear it. How do I begin to tell you what the first one is? And it's the greatest one. We don't save it till last. We want to reveal it on this program in all of its beauty and its glory. Because these are the things you are not told, dear ones. There is no major belief system today who will give you this statement or this information the way I am going to give you now, and that makes it controversial. What if you didn't have it right? What if all of those belief systems developed so many years ago, thousands of years ago, with all of the trappings and all of the rules? What if that was developed in an old energy because things were hiding and they didn't know any better? What if they misinterpreted some of the greatest things on the planet that were given to them, and today they're being revealed? What if you are far more magnificent than anyone ever told you? And that's the premise. There is a grander truth out there, dear ones. The biggest statement we want to give you is this: hiding in plain sight, you are a piece of God. To some, this would be blasphemous, for their whole premise of their belief system is that you are nothing and you were born dirty and you don't even deserve to look on the face of God because God is so beautiful and you are not. And if you've been told that, it's tough to rewrite that story. But I'll tell you, it's just the reverse. You have a soul. You know you have a soul. Do you think God would have given you a dirty soul? Because the soul is part of God, and you have a soul. What does that tell you you are? Dear ones, you have inside you the ability to do what the masters did on this planet. It is beautiful, beyond beautiful. It is magnificent. It comes with the promise. And the promise is this, that you can perform the same things that the masters did. And then we start telling you that it comes with consciousness and intent and practice and the energy of the earth, which has shifted to allow it. That's what the Circle of 12 is all about. There was a master named Jesus, followed today by 1 billion people. And it was carefully done. He was put on this planet as a man, not an angel. An angel did not come down called Jesus. It was a man. And through this short life of this man, especially toward the end, he showed everyone who was there what he could do. And it was miraculous, truly, today. He woke people up, seemingly, who were dead. He created things out of nothing and was able to supply the fishes and the loaves and when there were none. He walked on the water. He did so many things that those who will follow him will talk to you and say, you see, that's why we worship him. He didn't come to be worshiped. Dear ones, that man came to this planet to show you what you can do. He was called the Son of God, and yet he himself, in certain ways, perhaps in veiled ways, in certain metaphors, said, you're all sons of God. And that was the reason he came, to show you what you could do. And in an old energy, dear ones, he was worshipped, and then, of course, he was disposed of. That's an old energy of the planet. That's what you did with the prophets at the time, and he wasn't the only one. Now, here's one I want to tell you. Almost everything he did is being done today by other men in certain countries that the Western world is not even aware of or doesn't want to acknowledge because it's just too strange. Creating things out of nothing, yes, it's been done. Awakening those from the dead, yes, it's been done. Touching people and having them go into spontaneous remission, yes, it's being done. Creating changes in physics so you can do things even as odd as walk on the water, yes, it's been done. In this modern day, you can find it, and it's there. Because that was the message of the Master. You can do these things just like I can. Because inside you, you have the creative source. That is the legacy that you come with, old soul. This entire time, from 2012 to now, has been shaped by the changes in the magnetic grid when I arrived in 1989, moving in a way so that consciousness could also start to shift and move. The relationship between consciousness and magnetics has been shown in science and proven. Therefore, consciousness is energy. And now you know, consciousness can play an important part in physics, and they're going to discover that. already they're starting to work with that which is coherence, and that is what one human being can do with another and with groups. All of these things are starting to rewrite what you think you can do. And now some of those who come to this program as guests will start to use the same words that I have used for all these years. Look for the words magnificent. That's who you are. It's difficult to rewrite a story, a narrative, perhaps, that you've had from birth that would say to you that you are not able to do certain things, that you're not worthy to do them. And people in high respected places, perhaps even those you love, will face off to you and look in your eyes and say, you know, don't you, that you're not worthy. And you believe them. And it's not a conspiracy to make you unworthy. It's the best they had, dear ones. It's their belief, dear ones. But what if, just what if, it's changed? And now the revelation of a grander truth, a beautiful truth, can be yours. What if the sun has come out spiritually and given you the ability to look around for yourself and say, well, maybe they got it wrong. And it's not their fault they got it wrong. And they're still getting it wrong. It's not their fault because it's their narrative and their story and what they were told and what they believe. But what if it's so much bigger than that? And in that, perhaps you don't need a system at all. In that, perhaps all you need is love and the compassion to take the hand of Spirit and say, yes, I now understand that I am part of the plan that is God, that I'm here for a reason that is far, far grander than anything anyone ever told me. And that reason is to help the planet with compassion and love. And I can do it just like the masters did it with them. And I can assemble people who want to know about it because I love them so much.
For all of you who are out there dealing with how to overcome and transmuting those things, we truly are holding that space for you as you make your journey on that way. And I want to finish out these questions with an affirmation that came from Guru Deva. Guru Deva was the founder of a Hindu monastery in Kauai. And when Lee and I were there, I picked up one of his affirmations, and they sit on my desk. And interestingly, when this question came up, that affirmation was on my desk. So let's use that affirmation as we prepare for that message from Kryon. I invite you to close your eyes and hear these words from Guru Deva. I am not my body, mind, or emotions. They are but shells of the infinite energy that flows through them all. I am this energy. I am its source. I am on my way to merge with the Creator. And let us now hear the beautiful message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I always say this, that I know who is listening. Spirit understands so much more than you think. Did you ever consider your soul as part of an entirely huge system of souls? Did you ever consider the multidimensionality of you and your soul being part of the creative source, God? And it is. This is how we know the consciousness of those who tune in, those who are listening, those who are watching live, those who are watching later. Even if this message is seen months, years later, it is still alive with the grandest truth of the universe. This is a series of 4, and this is the second series of the 4. And the title of the series is Things Hidden in Plain Sight. We brought you the first one last week, the grandest of all. This second one may seem to be something that is common, that I've repeated over and over. So we're going to personalize it just a little bit for your time. One of the grandest things that is hidden in plain sight for you, all of you, is that you are a healer, a self-healer. That everything in your body that you consider is inappropriate or wrong, you can change. And you can change this as you sit there. Hidden in plain sight is the ability for you to actually alter your chemistry. Not only can you alter your own chemistry for your own healing and youthing, but you can alter it at the core level. That is your DNA. You can change the instruction sets of your DNA. That is how powerful you are. And some of you are saying, I don't understand what that means. Dear ones, your life and your chemistry is written in the manuals, you might say, of the chemistry that is so complex within your DNA. There have been those, not just me, who have faced off with you on this very program and said you have the ability to rewrite those instruction sets so that if you have what is called an inheritable disease, you will not pass it on to your children because you can erase it in your instruction sets and never worry that they'd have it. It goes even beyond that. It's so what you would call metaphysical or esoteric that you would say, I don't understand it because it can't happen. And that's where you're wrong. You have grown up with instructions that tell you, a programming that has told you outside of the body of what you can and cannot do. And so, therefore, when something hurts, you never go inward, you go outward. You find someone else who can help, and they often can, and many do. But is your first impression to turn inward or outward? Inside of you, what hides is majesty. I want you to consider some things, and then I want to get personal. Let's say you have a tumor growing in you. Whether it's benign or not, it's there. Where did it come from? Are you aware it did not come from outer space? It did not come from another dimension. It came from, are you ready? Your own chemistry, thoughts, and consciousness. That's where it came from. Now, you won't like that. And those perhaps who are sitting and listening to me who are in trouble with something growing in them will say, I didn't ask for this, I didn't create it, I didn't want it, it just arrived. And I will tell you something, dear ones, that all the evidence is in your consciousness and your body. It didn't come from outer space. It grew there because of the chemistry that was either created by you, your thoughts, or allowed by you because of your habits. You created it. Now, if you understand that, you also understand you can uncreate it. The chemistry that created it is the chemistry that can uncreate it. It is doable. So many times, we have given you this phrase. Talk to your cells, they are listening. And there are so many who will say, well, I don't fully understand that, but I'll talk out loud to my cells, and I'll tell you this, that you're simply throwing words into the air. You're not getting it. This has to be an internal process of intent where you sit there for some time and visualize all of the cells that you want to talk to and start giving them the intention of what they're going to do. I want you to understand that there is one boss of the body, and that's you. Your culture, however, doesn't have you as the boss. Somehow you live in your head, and everything below your head is just what they call potluck. It'll just do what it does. And then you're just lucky if you survive. And that is how you've been taught. You have no control. And you hope everything works. That is not how it works. Hidden in plain sight is the ability to change chemistry, to void things that are inappropriate in your body. Did you get that? You can heal anything that's there. You can accelerate healing of anything that is there. You can make it go away, just like it arrived. This is provable. So many have had this happen. You count on this process for homeopathy, sending body a signal, a tiny signal, and it works. Spontaneous remission, it works. You've seen this. Placebo effect, it works. You think it's going to work, you get a sugar-coated pill, and suddenly it works. What does that tell you? Hidden in plain sight, the master healer of you, your chemistry, your DNA, your body is listening. Okay, I'm going to give you the same information I have given before, that my partner has answered in questions before, regarding the vaccination. And it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to tell you something you should hear. There are those out there right now wringing their hands because they do not want to take the vaccination being offered all over the planet. They may fear the chemistry of it, or they may not like it. Now, this is not a political statement. It's not about whether you should or should not. This is a statement in case you take it and you feel you've had to, and you're sitting there in despair because you've taken something you didn't want to, and now you're afraid of its effects. First of all, let me tell you, you should be. This particular vaccination, one of them in particular, down the line, will show itself as inappropriate in reproduction. You're going to see it. And they didn't know it, and it was not tested long enough. But there are those who say everyone should take it, and therefore many have. What about you? Let me tell you something. If you take it, you are in charge of the chemistry of it. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. On your own, even if it's RNA-based, you can change what it has done. You can void all of the inappropriate things and be just fine. If you can change the chemistry of your ancestry, you can do that. I want you to know, and I want you to hear it. If you fear the vaccine, many don't. Many feel it is exactly what should be. But if you fear it and had to take it, or are facing the specter of taking it and you don't want to, don't wring your hands, dear ones. Don't be afraid, dear ones. You are the master healer of your own chemistry and can void anything inappropriate in your body. That is miraculous, and that is hidden in plain sight. Why don't we all take a moment, including my partner, and respect this. Sit with it and say, thank you, Spirit, in these times of trouble.
And I invite you to close your eyes, deepen your breathing, and think about all of the masters that have been on our planet. There have been so many come in physical form to show us the potential that exists within all of us. And each of you will have your own version of who that master healer is for you. They could be alive on the planet now, or they could be someone that has been on the planet had an end-of-life experience and is now communicating at a soul level. Whatever that master is to you, let us ask to receive an eternal peace to help us in our understanding of the bigger picture. To bring us peace when things happen and we don't know the reason why something has happened. So that when we face a situation where we look at that situation and ask, why did this happen? Let us use that as the invitation for the energy of peace to descend upon us from the Masters. Allow the energy of peace to descend upon you. You are receiving that from the Masters. And as that bubble of peace wraps around you, let us invite the wisdom of the words from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. A bubble of peace. How appropriate that this was brought up. This is indeed another installment of the series of 4, which we call Things Which Are Hiding in Plain Sight. If you take a look at the human being, the way you are right today, it's the way you were before, and before that. It's the way the ancients were. That hasn't changed much. What has changed is consciousness. Your ability perhaps to understand and develop belief systems that involve very complex ideas that are beyond that which is 3D. You have no problems with a beautiful, loving God that can hear a billion prayers all at once. That's not linear. You don't even ask, how can God do it? What if that reality which you consider is God actually spills into that which is the human being's soul, and then spills into that which is the design of the multidimensional parts of a human being? Dear ones, your cellular structure, your DNA, has multidimensional pieces and parts. If you don't believe that, ask this: what does a quantum biologist study? They study the multidimensional parts of the human being, the quantum parts, they would say. Quantum is a word that we would use, perhaps improperly to a physicist, that says it is a multidimensional part. If that is true, that means that you also have within you the ability to be nonlinear. Kryon, what are you talking about? All this science. One of the things that's hiding in plain sight is your soul. Now, we have never really said that before. We've talked about some of the other things hiding in plain sight before, but not this one. This is new. That is why the Circle of 12 was conceived. It's a new concept that you can identify and walk into that which is your soul part. That soul part of you is miraculous. That soul part of you is also part of the creative source itself. So when you're there, dear ones, It is an amazing experience because anything is possible. This is where you can meet and work with your past lives. When you walk into that which is your soul energy, you've seen it on the circle of 12, right here, over and over. There is no limitation to what you might be able to do. You think about these things. What is it that perhaps you could do if you could walk into that which is the soul of yourself? Who could you meet? I want you to take a look for a moment and remember what the circle of 12 has given you in the aspects of who has been in the theater and what has taken place in that theater. These are all metaphors of what you can do for yourself if you could meet your soul. Now, there are so many who would tell you at this moment, don't pay any attention to that silly stuff. You can't do that. They'll tell you that the soul is completely and totally removed from you. It's on the other side of the veil. And the mechanism of the soul is simply that which is up to God. And that you, yourself, have nothing to do with it while you're here. Now I ask you, does that really make sense? Would you have designed it that way? Now I continually say these things about spiritual logic. How would you have designed yourself in pure compassion and love from the other side of the veil? And we've said this before, would you have designed a system that removes you from God? That's what so many teach even today. A system which has you groveling in the dirt, climbing ladders in order to, that's a metaphor, steps or ladders in order to gain that which God would give you, of looking down so you don't have to look in the face of God because you're not worthy. Does that sound familiar? Would you have designed it that way? Does a parent design that for their kids? And the answer is no. Compassion and love have to win. Light is winning. So get into some spiritual logic and understand that these things start to make sense. Your soul is spectacular in every single way. It is the core spirituality. I would say spiritually, it is the core source of you and the Creator's connection. It's the core source of you and the Creator's connection, connecting with God. Is it possible that you can look into the face of the Creator? And the answer is yes, because when you do, you look at your own face. You are part of everything. The soul is eternal. It never started and it never will end, just like the Creator. There is no difference. Imagine God always had souls within it, ready to do what you're doing. That means you are part of the creative source. And for the first time, we tell you, you can touch the face of God. You have permission. It's always been there. But now in this new energy, it's doable. Hiding in plain sight is the ability for you to cross that bridge that we do every day. You can meet the masters of the past and ask them questions. You can meet yourself, your past lives, and ask questions. You can meet the core of the loved ones and ask them all the things you'd like to. You can have gifts presented to you. You can have healings. And there's something else. You can meet someone that's very, very important. And that someone I will reveal later in the Circle of 12. That's just to say, for those of you who are not members of the Circle of 12 and listening to that you can do anything. In this soul energy is pure healing. In this soul energy is everything you ever were or ever will be. And you can touch that. You can sit within it like a bubble of peace that was mentioned before. Dear ones, I want you to understand that the miracles you believe are miracles may not be miracles. They may be what you've always been able to do. They may seem like miracles to others, only because they have been told these things are not possible. And they are. I want you to understand that this soul energy can be used in other ways as well. You don't have to cross that bridge. You don't have to go into a visualization. You can drop within your heart instantly and be in that beautiful theater that all of you know about. And you can just sit there and be loved. Because you transfer that which is your consciousness into the field of your soul. And suddenly, you're in this beautiful bubble, and you know it. And you want to sustain it as long as you can, like the gurus in India, in their profound meditations. And it can go on as long as you want to, and sometimes time is removed in those areas. This is what you can do every single day. Drop into your heart, feel that bubble of peace within you, and know that you are in your soul energy. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to meet anybody. But it will soothe you. And you will be in touch at that moment with your core energy, and you will feel peace and compassion and love in times where you really need it. These are troubling times for many. And our information is always the same. That you don't have to be part of it, dear ones. And you can remove yourself to such a degree that the frustrations will not be frustrating. And you can be peaceful and walk through.
So let's move into a brief meditation before we have the Kryon channel. And to help us prepare for that, I invite you to close your eyes and move into that space where the external world can just take a back seat just for a few moments as you reconnect with the core essence that is within you. There is something within you that responds and resonates to the message of Kryon. It is why you are here. It is why you have connected with us. And perhaps you feel that when you come out of this place, your world doesn't have that beautiful meld between your light work and your day-to-day life work. So perhaps we can give an intention that as we move forward in our life, we have more of a meld between our spiritual life, our core essence, and that which we do on a day-to-day basis. Dear Spirit, bring about a meld between the core essence of my divine soul being and that which I do on a day-to-day basis. Dear Spirit, bring me the synchronicity that I need to fully step into my passion, my purpose, and the things that ignite my spark on a daily basis. And now with that request, imagine how that feels for you to already have that meld with your core spiritual self and that which you do in a daily life. And let us give gratitude and thanks that we always have the ability to go in and listen to Kryon again and again to help us rekindle the remembrance of who we are. And to help rekindle that remembrance of who we are, we now sit back and enjoy the beautiful message that is coming directly to you at a very personal level from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. So much is happening, dear ones, with you. Question about dreams and reframing things and the body reorganizing things. It is indeed true, and I will add this to that in this new energy, dear ones, Spirit knows you, knows what you're about. Spirit cooperates in so many ways to help you. Dreams is one of those ways. If you haven't noticed, dreams seem multidimensional. And what I mean by that is they're never linear. You're in places that you used to be, meeting people that shouldn't have been there or who have even passed. So the dreams mean something else. Sometimes they distract you while you work on other things, and sometimes they're a direct relationship to what you're learning as a light worker. How many of you have dreams in color, or perhaps that you're flying? These are dreams, dear ones, that show you, indeed, you're on the right track. Perhaps you have wished you would have dreams like that. Let me tell you, before you go to sleep, give intent for the dreams that you wish to have and see what happens. For those of you who have dreams that you don't like, you can control that as well. Dear Spirit, you might say before you go to sleep, let the dreams this time, tonight, enhance my magnificence. Let me awaken refreshed and smile at the lovely things that I've had presented during the night. You are so in control of the things that you might not think you're in control of. None of you are a slave to bad dreams. You can control them completely, totally. Like all of the other things that we've been telling you, you're in charge of. This is channel number 4 of 4. The title of Things Hidden in Plain Sight. And we've given you 3 other things that are hidden in plain sight, and some of you know those things, but perhaps we're not aware of the profundity of how you can do it or how you can use them. I've saved until last perhaps the most practical one. It's not esoteric. Some of you will say it is, because you're not understanding perhaps how it might be used. But truly, it is not esoteric. It has to do with you doing something that no organization that is spiritual on this planet has ever told you you could do. And it's this one. You, as you sit there, as you live from day to day, can control your own reality. This always gets us in trouble when we speak of this, because there are those who look askance and say, look, chance is chance. If I step off the curb and a truck is coming, that's chance. Now, how do you steer around the things like that? How do you create a reality which will not have you step in front of a truck by chance? This is where it gets good. Let me present something to you. If you do not have any consciousness toward your path, in other words, if you simply let chance happen, and it will, just like you said, imagine that there is a path before you that is filled with potholes, and you'll step in a number of them, and that's called chance. Now think for a moment that you give consciousness toward your path. And when you do, dear ones, you're presented with a path that either has no potholes or you get to steer around them through timing and synchronicity. You won't be at that junction where the truck comes along because you have asked not to be. That is how it works. You connect with the field, where the field has the potential of absolutely all consciousness and things that may or may not happen. And you start to steer yourself through that consciousness into fields with no potholes, because you are now in control of your path. Dear ones, I am telling you that you have the ability not to have a chance, random kind of future. It's also a consciousness of what you expect. And that's how it works. It's not you then consciously steering yourself into places you want to go. It's you with your intent and your affirmations for your life. What are your perceptions of what you can do? Do you think it's possible for your own body and your own mind to project yourself into safe places? For you to give intent for greater things than you have, or to be in the right place at the time that you need to be? What do you think of this when you would say, Dear Spirit, tomorrow, let me meet the people I should meet appropriately. Steer me in to the correct places. I'll be aware with my intuition of those places. Bring me this or something better. And that's the prayer. And it's simple. But if you do it every day and you do it often enough, you're going to see you get to control chance. And you won't be in front of the truck. In fact, you will meet the people you need to meet in order to go to the next level that you have then projected for yourself. I wouldn't tell you this if it were not then being able to be measured by others, seen by others. And so many old souls and lightworkers are participating in this. Your intent and your verbalization for what you want is the key. We have said before, so many times, that you are in charge of this, which is your reality, through your verbalization and what you expect next. It also goes to explain the opposite. How many times have we told you this? You are not a victim of this planet. There are those, and I hope some of them are watching, who feel they are. And so I will say, if you feel you're a victim of this planet because bad things continue to happen over and over, let me ask you, what do you expect next? The answer is often more of the same. If you analyze your thoughts, your verbalizations, dear one, who feel you're a victim, you will find yourself telling others how bad things are. You'll find yourself verbalizing your fears. I hope this doesn't happen, you'll say. And yet by the verbalization of then stating it, you put it out there for it to happen. You are controlling your own life, and you're steering yourself into trouble. It's almost like, indeed, I've said it before, it's almost like you're in a restaurant ordering on a menu, and you've ordered things that will create that which makes you think you're a victim. The worst things you can imagine come out of your lips and you're not even aware of it. If you change your intent and start to expect good things, even things you've never seen before, you start to change that reality. This is the way of it. This is a tool of the human being through consciousness, which has always been there. Some will even call it a law, the law of attraction, that as you put things out, they attract to you. As you then put out on that menu the things that you are expecting to have happen, the good things, the synchronistic things, the things that others say are impossible, and then they start happening to you, you know it works. My partner has seen it in his own life. There are others who teach it. It is so real to so many, including my partner, that he designs his life through the expectations of things that have not arrived. And when they do, he smiles and know it works. And he's not alone. There are so many who start to understand the process of consciousness, intent, to be in the right place, to meet the right people. And they plan around this to such a degree that you might think they can even tell the future. That's how powerful it is. I would like to involve all of you in this kind of projection. And perhaps right now with me, you might take a moment to use this gift together and follow this lead. Dear Spirit, I understand this gift. Dear Spirit, I am not a victim of chance. Dear Spirit, my magnificence can help create a reality for myself that is healthy, steered into the correct place, not by chance. Dear Spirit, I intend the best for myself. Dear Spirit, let me be in the right place at the right time. Dear Spirit, I wish to take my magnificence and push it to the future and see the solution to all the things today that are inappropriate in my life. Dear Spirit, this is my legacy. I am aware of the new energy, and I claim it for myself, knowing that light will shine upon me. It's the light of my own soul. It's the light that I came with. It's the light that will change everything from now on. And if you want to put an amen at the end of that, go ahead. That's